hey, I'm Matt Talarico. I'm with the Nickel City Collective, the Film Voice. We're here at the Denver Film Festival. The Stars Presents Denver Film Festival. We're talking about Keiko, The Untold Story right now with Theresa and other affiliated members of the story. So do you mind just giving us a little synopsis to...
My name is Theresa Demarest. Yeah, I was started out as a musician, and I got fascinated. I became a fan of Keiko's, like everyone else did, and I wrote a piece of music about him, and eventually was introduced to Mark Berman, and then we created a music concert tour. And then he introduced me to Naomi, and they very kindly supported me through good concerts and bad concerts and, well-attended concerts and, the whole thing. We're trying to get the Keiko's Dream thing going. And then when Keiko died, Mark called me, and we started out making a music video, and my first music video was really terrible. And then it got it got better and better, right. And eventually we now have a film. But one of the things that the reason I got involved in this is because of my involvement with Naomi and my involvement with Mark from the Humane Society of the United States and Mark from the Free Willy-Keiko Foundation, was that because I knew the stories that were being told about Keiko in the public was not what was going on. It was spin. There's always spin.
Right.
So I really wanted to tell a story that I knew about. Awesome. And I wanted to do it with my music, and I wanted to put the music in there. And, we were just kind of laughing about that a little earlier because my first editing of the film, the music was too loud and it was too much.
Overwhelmed the film.
Yeah, it overwhelmed the film.
Yeah, fair enough.
Now it's all.
It's a balance game with visual
game.
And audio, obviously.
But if it wasn't for Naomi Rose, she was our scientific consultant on the film. Every time I came across a piece of information, either about Keiko or orca whales or the situation, I would call her, and she very kindly. And also then Mark. If it wasn't for Mark, I wouldn't get to do this because Mark and I kind of. We've got to do this film. How are we going to do it? It's kind of like the way a lot of filmmakers start. How are we going to do this?
Yeah.
So we started out with a 5-minute thing, and we've been able now to tell a story. We just filmed the first one here at the Stars Denver Film Festival, and what a festival this is! It was a full audience, and they were very engaged and really found out a lot of things they didn't know before, and
fantastic.
It was great.
Awesome.
It was great.
I was gonna say, Naomi, do you mind telling a little bit about your process with this film
my involvement,
and maybe how it's impacted you a little bit?
Well, I'm a marine mammal biologist. I'm actually an orca biologist, and so the animals are what I know. I don't know anything about making films, I was hired at the Humane Society of the United States initially to help that organization mount a campaign against the captivity of these animals because we had really serious concerns about their welfare. So that was back in 1993, which was the year Free Willy came out. And in fact, that's why my organization decided to launch the campaign at that time, because this movie was coming out, and it was just sort of really telling the story we wanted the public to hear. So I came right out of graduate school. I studied these animals up in the Pacific Northwest, and I studied male social dynamics, so the males and how they behave is what I know. And got this job, and boom, we're in the middle of sort of an interesting debate, if you will, in the public mind and SeaWorld and all of that, And this movie is out. And a few years after it came out, when Keiko moved from Mexico City to Oregon, my organization was involved in that. I was introduced to Theresa, and we started, as she said, there were some concerts, and I flew out to Oregon, and remember the one with a bunch of 7-year-olds. It was a very interesting experience trying to talk seriously to a group of second graders.
Explaining wildlife biology.
Yeah, they were, I went to see a dolphin once, and it was all very interesting. But so we did that.
A great crowd.
And then it was a great crowd. And then I became the scientific consultant for the making of the film, and excellent. Theresa kept me apprised. I saw many different versions of it.
Awesome.
And so now we're finally here.
And how do you feel like this blend of science and art is furthering the story of Keiko and your organization?
Well, I think that's it right there. I mean, basically, the public is more receptive to a serious message when it's presented in a way that's accessible for them. So the blend of, as you say, science and art is a more effective way of reaching people than just science, or for that matter, just art. And so I'm a little new to this, you know, and the making of an art film, if you will, a documentary that's really meant for film festivals and the general public. But it's been a real learning experience, and I've been really enjoying it. It was screening 15 different versions of the film.
Yes,
was a little bit
it was a big challenge for me, because I would come up with an artistic, emotional moment, and I would send it to Naomi, and she'd go, "Well, that's wrong." You know, so I would.
I always felt kind of bad about that.
Oh no, it was great. It was great. It was great.
That's why you're part of the film, you know.
Exactly.
That's why our audiences are responding to the film the way they did today, and the way they have been doing. We've just finished the film in July.
Well.
And we've screened it a few times, and the audiences are getting engaged with it. And I wanted to be sure and tell the truth, and to have the facts, have it be scientifically factual.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
so to bring the art and the science together has been a challenge.
Have you, any of you guys received any criticism on that blend of you know, the facts and the
Not
the
yet.
fiction,
I'm sure
the
it
art?
will come.
Well,
Not yet.
I'll say a little bit, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mark, because
Okay.
yes, we've definitely gotten criticism from the public display industry on the facts.
Okay.
Because their spin of what happened is not our recollection of what actually happened,
Yeah.
and we were there and they weren't, and so it's been very difficult trying to handle that criticism, because it's really based more on politics than on facts.
Yeah, and economics probably.
But to me, the sort of the timing of this film is been excellent, and so
Awesome.
it's
Yeah, what are your
impressive.
thoughts?
Well, I'd like to go back to the very beginning and say that because of Richard Donner and Lauren Schuler Donner, they're the ones who started this whole process by making the film Free Willy. Without that, if they never made the movie, there would have been no Keiko.
Right.
Well, there would have been a Keiko, but it would have been left to languish.
Keiko would have
in
been,
Mexico,
you know, dead long ago in Mexico City.
But the publicity of that massive
the way it
industry
worked-
that we have as filmmaking brought attention to it
Yes.
and kind of generated.
Well, see, the way
a
it
lot of
worked
this.
is Keiko was the star of Free Willy.
Mm-hmm.
The Donners contacted Earth Island Institute
Mm-hmm.
to have the toll-free number at the end of the film, 1-800-4-WHALES.
Hmm.
This number was generated to bring attention to Norway's whaling in 1993. They had just decided to go back commercial whaling.
Mm-hmm.
And the Donners had always been very big fans of animal rights,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's dolphins or whales or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So we worked with them to get this number at the end of the film. When the film opened in 1993, the first week we got over 100,000 calls, literally, to a call center, not our office.
Mm-hmm.
People were asking, okay, that's great about, we want to help you stop whaling, but what about that poor whale Keiko?
Hmm.
So Keiko was still languishing in the tank. In the movie, he's seen jumping to freedom over a wall.
Right.
The the animatronics they use or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we got involved.
Yeah.
The Donners asked us to get involved, and Warner Brothers, and then it became a big snowball effect. So now, the industry, like SeaWorld, is livid about the whole issue, that we even got that whale out of captivity into his native waters,
Mm-hmm.
along with all the other people who worked with us. This is going to tell the true story about what happened really to Keiko, so that the industry can no longer tell lies. Basically, that's it.
Do you feel like this is, and any of you feel free to jump in, that this is an opportunity to represent the other side of the story in a powerful way, and that it will hold relevance to in controversy to what the other side is saying?
That's an interesting thought, because when I was doing this film, I almost ended. I don't know if you as filmmakers, but you finish, you spend a long time on a thing, and you think we're done,
Right.
and you screen it, and you go, we're not done. And
Yep.
just before I thought we're done, somebody. One of the people who was courting us to possibly distribute the film said, well, this film would never be good for children to see. And so I went and took a film crew. It made me angry that they said that. And that's a really good thing. So I took a film crew to have the children watch the film.
Mm-hmm.
And then I filmed their responses.
Mm-hmm.
And their responses are remarkable, and the audience really, it's the children who are going to tell us what we're supposed to do. The children know the truth about things, and so I kind of lost my train.
And it was a movement sort of generated by children
Yes.
who were interested in the film in the first place.
Yes.
Free
That's
Willy.
right.
It was the
correct?
kids. It was
Yeah.
the kids who.
Yeah.
They were getting
started
their
calling.
parents to call the 1-800.
Right, they weren't
I mean, it
maybe
wasn't
picking the phone up
It wasn't
themselves,
the parents
but-
who were calling about whaling. They were calling because their kids were saying, "I want to help Keiko."
Right.
They were
And
sending
then
them lunch money.
They really
That's
were.
impressive.
And basically this. I mean, again, my motivation in working so hard with Theresa on this film is because I feel like there's been a lot of misinformation out there.
Yep.
And a lot of people who followed Keiko's story all the way through Oregon kind of lost the thread after he went to Scandinavia. And to me, what this film largely concentrates on is what happened to him after he got to Iceland. There's just so many amazing shots that have never been aired before of
Right.
him actually interacting with wild whales. I can't tell you how many people who think they know the truth think that, he was released and died. That there was a 5-year period when he was actually interacting with wild whales and doing really well.
Right.
They don't know anything about that.
It's
This film is
the
going to tell them
untold
that.
story here. Yeah.
There's a very famous animal person in, I don't want to use their name.
On the other side.
Okay.
Who announced last February on national television when Tillicum killed one of his trainers, and he was talking on MSNBC, and he was saying, well, Tillicum could never be freed or whatever.
Yep.
And they said, well, what about Keiko? And here's this internationally known, is he an animal?
He's a trainer.
An animal
Animal
trainer.
trainer,
Okay,
okay.
International animal trainer, been around a long time, very well known, should know better. Said, well, what about Keiko? Keiko was captive, a whale, and then he was released, and he said, oh, Keiko was immediately attacked by wild whales and killed. And he said this on international NBC. So when you ask the average person what happened to Keiko, what happened to Keiko after he was moved to Iceland? Oh, no. But you have that, of people who don't know, and then you have the other side where people are just telling lies on international television. And that's one of the reasons I did this.
Excellent.
One of the reasons I did this, because I knew that wasn't true. And he had 5 years.
Right.
5 years.
Well, it's fantastic that you were able to pull this together, and it sounds like it's been receiving a lot of great reactions.
Very excited.
And
Right.
the timing couldn't be better because there's just so much.
Especially after movies like The Cove and
exactly.
other films like
There's
that.
a number of things in the media and in real life that are going on right now that really make this story resonate.
It sounds like the exact right time for this film to be coming out. And
For
that's just
filmmakers,
serendipity.
I was a musician at first, and I think filmmakers should, whatever they were before, you take everything that you know and everything that you do, and you put it in, you use it for your film making.
excellent. Yeah, I was going to ask you if